בחודש השביעי, באחד לחודש, יהיה לכם שבתון, זיכרון תרועה מקרא קודש, כל מלאכת עבודה לא תעשו. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, there shall be a sacred assembly, a cessation from work, a day of commemoration proclaimed by the sound of the shofar.
בחודש שופר, בכסר ליום חגנו. כי חוק לישראל הוא. משפט לאלוהי יעקב. Adonai המבורך.
Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha, v'chayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavacha, hayom alevavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם
קיים לפני משה, זה לי אנו ואמרו. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני. גאל ישראל. אבינו מלכנו שמע קולנו, אבינו מלכנו חטאנו לפניך, אבינו מלכנו חמול עלינו ועל עלינו ותעבדנו. אבינו מלכנו חנתנו בקרב רע והעלינו Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kodmeinu, Besefer Chaim Tovim, Avinu Malkeinu, Ateish Aleinu, Ateish Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Arem Keren, Yisrael Amecha, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu Mahanenu, Ye'enu Masi. Haseimanu, Tzedaka v'chesed. Haseimanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, ve'oshienu. Haseimanu, Tzedaka v'chesed. Haseimanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, ve'oshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu.
L'Shana Tova and Good Yontif. Abraham Joshua Heschel once told the story of a schoolboy who was forgetful. He was always losing things. One September before school began, he worked out a system. Before he went to sleep that night, he made a list of all the things he would need the next day. He wrote, "My suit is on the chair. My hat is in the closet. My books are on the desk. My shoes are by the door. And I am in my bed." When he woke up the next morning, he started to collect his things, and they were all in the right places. The suit was on the chair, the books were on the desk, the shoes were by the door. And then he came to the last item on the list. He went to look for himself in the bed, but his search was in vain. He wasn't there. "Where am I?" he asked. That is the question of the hour. At this time of so much challenge and change, we ask ourselves, Ayeka, where am I? Exactly at this moment, when one year is giving way to another, each of us is called upon to ask and answer, where am I? And by Yom Kippur, we should have a good answer. Ayeka is the first question in all of the Torah. It is God's first question of humanity. On Rosh HaShanah, the anniversary of the conception of the universe, we remember when the world was young, when Adam and Eve were enjoying the good life in the Garden of Eden, when they broke the one commandment that God gave, not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And when they broke that mitzvah, they hid among the trees, and God called out and asked, Ayeka, where are you? What a surprising question from the all-knowing God. And so our sages teach the question must not have been for God's sake. God already knew the answer. The question must have been for the sake of Adam and Eve. That one word, Ayeka, forced Adam and Eve to see their place, to acknowledge their circumstance, to recognize their reality and their place within it. Recorded in the Torah is Adam's answer. He responded to God saying, I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and so I hid. On Rosh HaShanah, we see ourselves as Adam and Eve. We may have ventured further and further into the trees this year, hiding from our failings and regrets and misgivings. But on Rosh Hashanah, God calls out for our sake, Ayeka, where are you? Sitting quietly now, we each consider, how have I changed over the year now past? Where have I been? How have I grown? What have I lost? What opportunities for good have I avoided? What were my successes as a human being of good character? When was I generous, kind, curious, courageous? How did I fail? When was I impatient, unforgiving, or callous? Have I shown myself to be created in the image of God? Like Adam and Eve, we feel ourselves on this holy day exposed, vulnerable before God, who is the knower of all secrets. But because we believe that God is compassionate and loving, we can begin now to come forward from our hiding places in the trees. The Hebrew name for the new month we have just begun, Tishrei, comes from the Aramaic word meaning to untie or to loosen. Tishrei is when we untangle ourselves from those branches and vines of denial and guilt. We come forward from our hiding places to confront ourselves, to confront our God, and to confront one another with nothing but the truth and the readiness to return. The 20th century German Jewish philosopher Franz Rosenzweig wrote, "There is no more waiting, no more hiding. The individual confronts judgment without any intermediary factor. One stands in the congregation, one says, 'we,' but the 'we' of this day is not the 'we' of the people of history. On these days, the individual in all his and her naked individuality stands immediately before God." So call it the voice of God or call it the voice of conscience, no matter. Today we confront and concentrate our efforts so that we can hear the whisper of the word, Ayeka. Where are you? May we each respond honestly and with full intention as we continue to search the map for where we have been and where we wish to be and who we choose yet to become. May our efforts be met by a year of life and goodness, health and healing, blessing and peace. Amen. L'Shana Tova. It is said that the words we are about to utter were born of the martyrdom of Rabbi Amnon of Mainz, a legend, and yet surely our deeds do not pass away unrecorded. Every word, every act inscribes itself in the book of life. Freely we choose, and what we have chosen to become stands in judgment over what we may yet hope to be. In our choices, we are not always free, but if only we make the effort to turn, every force of goodness within and without will help us while we live to escape that death of the heart which leads to sin.
קדושת היום כי הוא נורא והיום ובוא תנשא מלכותך וייכון בחסר כיסאך ותשב עליו באמת.
Let us proclaim the sacred power of this day. It is awesome and full of dread. For on this day your dominion is exalted, your throne established in steadfast love, there in truth you reign. In truth you are judge and arbiter, counsel and witness. You write and you seal, record and recount, you remember deeds long forgotten. You open the book of our days, and what is written there proclaims itself, for it bears the signature of every human being.
שופר גדול ייתקע, וכל מעמד יישמע, ומלאכים יחפשו, וכאילו רעתה יוחזו, ומלאכים יחפשו, וכאילו רעתה יוחזו. ושופר גדול ייתקע, וכל מעמד יישמע, ומלאכים יחפשו, וכאילו רעתה יוחזו. ומלאכים יחפשו, וכאילו רעתה היום נראה הנה יום הדין, לבכור על צבא מרום פתין, כי לא יזכו בניך פתין, וכל באי עולם יעברו לפניך כבני מרום, כבקרת רועה עברו, באוויר צונו תחת שבטו. וכל באי עולם יעברו לפניך כבני מרום, כבקרת רועה עברו, באוויר צונו תחת שבטו. ותעביר ותספור ותמנה ותמכור נפש חולי, ותחור קצבה וכל בריאה, ותחור את זר תמנם. ובשופר גדול ייתקע, וכבוד מעמדך יישמע, ומלאכים יחפשו, וכאילו רעתה יוחזו. ומלאכים יחפשו, וכאילו רעתה יוחזו. המלאכים יחפשו, וכאילו רעתה יוחזו.
The great shofar is sounded. The still small voice is heard. The angels, gripped by fear and trembling, declare in awe, "This is the day of judgment, for even the hosts of heaven are judged, as all who dwell on earth stand arrayed before you." As the shepherd seeks out the flock and makes the sheep pass under the staff, so do you muster and number and consider every soul, setting the bounds of every creature's life and decreeing its destiny.
Sheshim Tavala Kishen Shimatishim Oto Bishmei Maron Takatu Vayan Viecha Vikaraz Elza Vehamar Kadosh 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 Adonai Tzevaot Melech haaretz kevodo.
Atir adirei Adonai Adonai Mahatir Shimcha bechol haaretz. Baruch Lemon Adonai
Echadu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Hu Moshiach Elokeinu Hu Moshiachenu Vehu Yashmienu Verachamav Leinei Kovai Ani Adonai Kadosh 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 Kadosh
Elohai Tehan Leton Mashon Alleluia 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 עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המון עם, ואנחנו ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Amen.
Tekiah. Shavarim teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shavarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah.
הרשת שפתנו, הרשת שפתנו ירא בפניך ארם ונישא, מבין ומאזין, מבין ומאזין, מביט ומקשיב, מביט ומקשיב, מבין ומאזין, מביט ומקשיב, לכל, 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 לכל תקיעתנו. ותקבל ברחמים, ברחמים וברצון, סדר, 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 מלכויותינו. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ויחפר יקלוט הכל לבעתו ימלוך תורה והוא היה והוא הופך והוא יהיה בתפארה.
והוא אחד ואין שני לעם שלו להכבירו בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה. יאללה לה 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 יאללה 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 לה לה לה.
והוא מניר וחי כהני וצור חסיר ואין זרע והוא ניסי ומנוסי ונת כוסי ביום מקרא.
בידו אף קירוחי ואין Adonai li velo ira. Yadalai lai lai lai, yadalai lai lai lai, yadalai lai lai lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai lai, yadalai lai lai lai, yadalai lai lai lai, yadalai lai lai.
This Rosh HaShanah is the anniversary of our short time in Eden. There we chose knowledge of good and evil. There we chose to be human. There we chose to be capable of change. And God sent us eastward. Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. O God, help us to turn and return. We will turn towards you, and we will turn to become our finest selves. Shana Tova.
לשנה טובה תיכתב, לשנה